So again, this is the At the Movies podcast. I am Scott Wolfile, and with me is Brandon Jones, Danielle Hawthorne, James Faust, and Melissa Boudreau. And as usual, we are here to talk about going to the movies and what exactly that movie-going experience means to us and what it means as an exhibitor to bring that experience to an audience. So how has everyone been doing? Good?
Busy.
Yeah.
Seeing some light at the end of this no movie theater tunnel, hopefully, as more and more people are sending out videos of their CEOs telling us how great it's going to be when we go back to their theaters. Did you see the latest today?
No, what was today's?
AMC's.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't see it.
Give us did you watch it? What did he say?
I watched all 8.5 minutes of it.
Wow.
It was 8.5 minutes long?
Mm-hmm.
It's a long time.
What do you have to say?
State of the Union type of thing?
No, but they dig in deep on cleanliness and sanitation and new procedures and no cash.
I feel like cash is kind of going away large in part. A lot of stores I've gone into recently have said no cash.
All Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Get
Should
your
have
Bitcoin.
invested in some Bitcoin.
Right.
I never understood Bitcoin. I don't know.
I still don't understand Bitcoin.
Right.
It's just fake money like every other thing is fake money. It's all fake money. It's
Is
just
it real? Is it made up? Is it like fairy dust that people are like, oh, Bitcoin?
I don't want to start the rumor
I don't
that AMC's only taking Bitcoin. But that kind of felt like we were headed in that direction.
I'm tweeting that right now. I found my phone.
Right.
No conspiracy
You heard
theories.
it
Let's not
first.
let that start
Oh
here.
my gosh.
I'm not taking any ownership of that.
So I hear it. So,
Or,
and AMC is celebrating its 100th anniversary, 1920 to 2020, with 15-cent tickets on the 20th.
That's right.
Oh,
And-
and their debt.
And theaters are starting to reopen again. So
It's happening.
it is going to happen.
I remember it was matinee and student price was $1.25 when I was growing up. So you go there, and then depending on the movie, I think it depended on the film. I could be wrong, but I remember seeing The Wraith at a 7 o'clock. Yeah, that's right, The Wraith. It's one of the worst movies of all time.
What
Charlie
movie?
Sheen. The Wraith.
Oh, never seen that
Charlie
one.
Charlie Sheen and
That in the logbook.
a dead car and a ghost car, and so it's kind of terrible. But I remember thinking, oh man, that's gonna be one of the $5 movies today, and it was $3.25 at 7. I remember I saw the 7:30 show. It was only $3.25. So
Well, that must be why it was 3.
I mean, Heather Locklear, I think, or Heather Thomas, one of the Heathers back in the
Oh.
80s. It's just terrible.
Mm.
I think when I worked at AMC in high school, I believe our evening show was $6.25 and the matinee was $3. And so
You don't even have to give your age anymore. You just tell people how much movies cost and they know how old you were.
Back in the day.
I'm 29.
I think mine was about the same too. I mean, mine was a Goodrich Quality Theater in Cadillac, Michigan. And so that one, I believe when I was there, I don't know, it was early 2000s. And that must have been probably $3 for a matinee and $6 for an evening ticket.
But that's a small town theater, though. How many screens is it?
It was originally 2, and then they expanded to a 5. And then most recently, they went down to a 4. They took 2 of their bigger auditoriums and expanded it to 1 large auditorium.
James, what theater did you go to as a kid?
There was a couple, Forum 303 Mall in Arlington, Texas, and then there was Redbird Mall and South Dallas there. And the other theater I went to the most was in Arlington, was the Arlington 4, which is where I saw Indiana Jones and E.T. And yeah, that theater was terrible, but I kept going back.
Did you ever go to the Medallion over off Northwest Highway in Skillman?
When I was at SMU, yeah, I went to the Medallion, saw kids there. I saw, Dancer in the Dark. I saw a bunch of indies there.
That was Spielberg's favorite theater to test screen. That's the first place they ever test screened Jaws. Was it
Was
that
it the
theater?
Medallion or was it at North Park?
No, it was at the Medallion. But the North Park one was, I think, Lucas's favorite, where he would go test screen films. They love those theaters.
Yeah, they did Raiders at North Park. They tested it there in North Park 1 and 2, which were, when I got old enough, those were the best theaters on the planet.
Right.
That thing was that thing. I feel like that was the first or second place Lucas ever did THX, was in those theaters.
Yep. I think that was the first, but it was amazing. And then they become parking lots and Kohl's. So support your local movie theater, or that's what happens to them.
Or get some really cheap everything, because Kohl's has everything.
I wish I would have grown up in a bigger city sometimes, because I hear you guys talking about those theaters and I look back and I'm like, we got excited when we got just a normal movie theater. I think it was called the Grand, and it didn't open until I was in probably high school. We had this really crappy, tiny theater like throughout my whole childhood. And then this came in and it was like a 14-plex or something. And it was just like normal concessions. I remember people freaking out because it had one of those like self-serve butter stations. And people were like,
tickets?
Do you see this?
How much were tickets so we can judge your age?
I think tickets when I was younger, it was like 10-ish.
Yeah.
10-ish.
10, yep. Danielle's aging herself.
Oh,
We
We're a
know.
tiny town, guys. People don't pay those expensive movie ticket prices.
Well, that's expensive too.
Yeah.
$10?
Oh, really?
Free.
Oh, see, I think about prices now.
$10
like,
when you're in high school? That's
Yeah, man, I wouldn't go to the movies. I mean,
$10 in high school? No way. That's like, that would have been a full tank of gas.
yeah, I took 7 dudes to see Eddie Murphy Raw, and
oh,
it cost me, I think it was $50
For 10 of you.
Yeah, 8 of us. 8 is total 8.
Okay.
So
well, the movie theater was like our premier entertainment. Like there was a bowling alley and that's it. There's the bowling alley and the movie theater.
Yeah.
You get to pick.
Yeah, with my original hometown theater, it was only 5 screens. It was a relatively small town. So for like a cinephile like me, even at a younger age, I had to travel at least an hour outside of my town to find like the stuff that I actually really wanted to watch. Like some of the horror movies that came out during that era, it was a small town with like mainly families. So those titles just really wouldn't perform there. So they wouldn't get them. So you'd have to go to Grand Rapids or Traverse City or sometimes all the way down to Detroit.
Hey, I had a question. I mean, Scott, to all the exhibitor folks, did we talk about the decree in the last episode?
No, it hadn't
Yeah.
happened yet. It's in my notes to bring up. So that was actually,
I'd love to hear from you guys.
yeah, well, I was hoping someone would explain it to me. So I kind of know a little bit what's going on, but I was hoping maybe we would try a new segment on the show called Explain It to Me Like I'm 5.
I like this.
So if someone has any idea with what's going on with the consent decree eliminations,
I vote for Brandon.
Yeah, me
please
too.
chime in and explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. This week on Explain It to Me Like a 5-Year-Old, we're talking about the consent decree eliminations. So I don't even know what that means because I'm 5. So someone please tell me.
Very heady the way you set that up. James, you want to go first, and then
No,
we can
not at all. I'll tell you. Here's the telephone game version of it. Almost 100 years ago, somebody said that studios can't own everything, can't distribute, create, and own the theaters as well. And somehow that was thrown out in a California court last week. And so now I feel like we're going to have the AMC Universals and Neon Alamos of the world are going to be coming out at us.
So is this good or bad? This is the
depends on
debate.
what movies you make.
That's very fair. Depends on who you are.
I have some opinions. I don't want to get too editorial on this, but
Drop some science on us.
right. So
Tell us like we're 5.
Nah. So in the 40s, the studios owned everything from production all the way through distribution, including actors' contracts. So you were the Paramount stars are actually the actual stars of people who are on contract at Paramount, and you wanted to become one of those stars.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 24 of them. There may be 27. I don't remember exactly. I could go count the logo, I guess.
I could Google it for you.
They said, hey, this is antitrust and it's not good for the consumer. So studios cannot own the distribution channel as well. So they said there was Paramount Theaters and there were Warner Theaters and other theaters as well. So those all Fox Theaters, they all got broken up and the movie theater companies were individualized. So now, really with the advent of streaming, because Netflix produces its own movies and controls its own distribution platform. So whether that is a digital distribution platform or a retail platform, is there any true difference? So they've come back and said that studios essentially can own their own movie theaters. And there's a little nuance in here about block booking, which is an industry thing. But is it good or bad? I think that this allows studios to prop up the theaters that they want propped up in the markets they want to be propped up. So if you took the 5 largest theater chains, bless you, if you took the 5 largest theater chains, the studios in essence could own those or contribute to those or be investors in those, and that would be 65% of the industry as it is pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an absolute death knell to the small and independent movie theaters.
Yep.
So
what it could cause, from a production standpoint, it could get to a point where in the past, you'd have, you still have Fox and Fox Searchlight, but Paramount became just Paramount. There wasn't a separate section. So all these independent studios. So in a positive, I think there may be a way they need to get those films in particular, like independent films that they usually would lump in or just dump. Now, if they have a stake in a theater, like, hey, you've got that 77-seat theater in your back over there. Why doesn't that become our, I'll just use Fox Searchlight as an example. Like, we just need to make a little back on this so we can get it for the Oscar run, so we can get this thing out, and then that's when we'll make our real money and we'll roll it over. People were thinking it was bad for independent film. I said, this could be good for independent film, for those companies that still are making films, not for money, but for awards.
Yeah, keep in mind, Netflix recently purchased the Egyptian, I believe, and the Paris Theater in New York. So Netflix owns movie theaters, and they bought those for the reason James was just talking about. So I think overall, this is not going to happen overnight. And right now, there are movie theaters and movie theater companies that are consolidating or going out of business. So this industry is changing. Absolutely, it's going to change. It's not going away, but over the next 6 months to 2 years, it's going to go through some drastic changes. And I don't know. So from an exhibitor standpoint, and for people who love to go to the movie theaters and see movies in movie theaters, I can't say whether that's good or bad for the movie goer, but you may not be able to just have one movie theater you go to anymore. Like if you were really in a habit of going to this movie theater and that's just the one I go to, well, that one may only show certain studios' films from now on, if it is backed by those studios. If Lionsgate and Disney and Universal all have an investment in that theater, then those are most likely the majority of films are only going to be those films. So you may have to seek out other movie theaters, which may be ultimately good for some other players. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, if you have the luxury of being in a town where you have more than one movie theater as an option, because as a kid, I didn't.
Well, and to that point, if you're in a small town with one movie theater, that may not be a theater that can get product.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's a shame.
And that's why the small and independent movie theaters, this could be a real challenge for. I don't think it's a challenge for really the bigger guys, but it could be a lifeline to some of the bigger guys.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah.
Amazon Draft House coming your way.
Oh my gosh. I agree with you, Brandon. I think the next 2 years in exhibition is going to be interesting. There's going to be change.
And we're going to be here to comment on it and talk about it every week.
True. Good plug.
Yeah.
Shameless
just throwing the runway out there.
All right. Well, no, that was great. That was a great conclusion of Explain It to Me Like I'm 5.
I will say that I miss the days of literally counting down on a calendar till the next Marvel film opens. I looked forward to going and seeing those films in a movie theater so much. And just like getting in your seat, the lights going down, I would get so excited because I knew like that I was just in for a treat, because you don't find many franchises that span 10 plus years and are, following the same storyline throughout the entire thing for the most part, and interwoven and connected. And I kind of miss that right now.
Well, the countdown is on for your next one for November the 6th with Black Widow. So
did they announce that?
That's currently the date for Black Widow. There's nothing before that,
I
right?
got
Eternals comes out
2021.
after that.
I thought they moved everything to 2021.
I did too.
Still on there.
Still on the list.
Okay.
On the current list.
Well, what is everyone's most anticipated releases? Clearly, we know Danielle's.
Actually, that's not mine.
It's not? Oh, well, do tell.
It's in her top 5.
Oh.
It is in the top 5. The film that I was really looking forward to this year, besides Black Widow, was the new James Bond film.
That does look really good.
That's still 2020.
Yeah.
Yep.
I am a huge James Bond fan.
Mm.
And so that's a big one for me this year. And I was so sad because I was supposed to go interview the cast, and it was originally going to be released earlier this year. And then everything happened like a week prior. Week prior.
Bond comes out November 20th, currently dated for November 20th. What else is on everybody's most anticipated list?
Yeah, I want to hear from James. What were you anticipating the most?
This sounds going to sound crazy, but I think I said this last time. I spend most of the year watching, very heady, smart, important films that are changing the world, environmental, etc., and these very deep mental pieces. And sometimes in the summertime, I just want to see shit blow up. So there's a film that's meant a lot to me my entire life, so much so that my wife got me a really cool T-shirt that I like to wear a lot. But Maverick was high on my list of things that I was so pumped to see. Because I think me and Tom Cruise are just separated by about 7 or 9 years in age. I'm like, come on, man. Yes, you can still ride that ninja motorcycle. Yes, you can still squeeze into a plane. Yes, you can
Still play volleyball.
Yeah, play volleyball. There's a
I think
volleyball.
they're playing beach football this time.
Are they?
Oh.
They substituted that out.
Oh man,
Still on the beach.
I saw the beach and I saw a ball. I didn't see it was a football though.
I think it is.
I don't know. I mean, playing volleyball, is that really all that realistic these days? They got updated to something else.
That's true. That was more of like a 90s-ish thing. I think that's true. I was so excited for that film too, James. Like, it's obviously my background, for everyone who's watching this, but if you're listening, it's my virtual background. And I was saying this on another call this week, how excited I was for that film. And I actually was honestly going to try and rent a private theater with some of our coworkers when I still was working at Imagine. That was our plan. Like, we had it all set. So we're just going to do it next year for, 4th of July.
Oh, man. Is that to come out 4th of July
2nd, I believe, 2021.
Yeah, July 2nd is the new date. Yeah.
I would say that was my most anticipated film of this year, would have been Top Gun. I have a couple others on my list, include Bond, I agree with.
Yeah.
The French Dispatch. I'm always up for a Wes Anderson. I'm sucked into the Ghostbusters relaunch, so I was looking forward to that.
It looks good.
And then
it's in the family.
Then Chris Rock in Spiral, the Saw 9 or whatever it is. I am geeked up to go see that. I'm not into those movies typically, but I really want to see what Chris Rock how he's put a spin on that thing.
I was so surprised when I saw Sam Jackson was going to be in that movie.
Why are you ever surprised? Sam Jackson does every movie. There's not.
He's doing Capital One commercials.
Yeah, he's like it's like he's afraid his money's gonna go away.
Yeah.
He's always working. He's probably got like 6 pandemic movies. Snakes in the House. I
never saw Snakes on a Plane. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
I need to watch. Is that my weekend watch? Okay.
Okay, so speaking of like the going to the theaters part, when we screened that, I was working for a movie theater company at that time, and we actually had a snake handler come in.
No.
And so in the lobby, we had probably a dozen snakes, and you
A dozen?
at least, and you
Were they
could go
in
and
cages?
handle like a python, and you could,
Just no. That's just a straight up no for me.
that
Yeah.
was so
Yep.
you don't normally get that, but that's what we did for that movie. I think I have, speaking of old posters, I actually have the one sheet for that, and they made a airplane safety card that has like escape routes on it. And I have that.
Awesome.
I have that as well. So
That's pretty
I have one of
sweet.
those posters too.
I think you also have a hat.
maybe
That movie.
I'll dig it up and I'll wear it next time.
I guess I have my weekend homework.
It's interesting, like when you go to the movies. So I was thinking about this. I really have 4 groups of people that I've really seen movies with throughout my life. So there's obviously went to see movies with my dad when I was a kid, but my dad, who's a Vietnam vet, took me to see Platoon when I was 12 years old.
Oh my God.
And we like, for some reasons, like every war movie, I would go to the movie theater with my dad to see Saving Private Ryan and Platoon and Full Metal Jacket. I mean, it's just, so that was like,
At like 12.
right, like I was little and I would, I don't know, hey, do you want to go see the movie? At some point, I'm like, is this therapy for you? I mean, and then I love going to the movies with my son, and then he started taking his friends, and it was always a great place for us to go. Danielle and I go see a lot of movies together, obviously, and we'll go see all kinds of movies. With my son, it's really kind of action and superhero movies, and then with Danielle and I, it's everything. But the other thing we like to do is we like to go and take our friends to the movies, or like I'll go, like a group of buddies and be like, hey, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's coming out, or, whatever it is, and we'll buy like 20 tickets and then just have everybody come. And that's a different experience altogether. So I think that's another fun part of it. Like you have your groups that that you have these types of movies that you go with. So
What does everyone miss most about going to the movies? And so for me, I think one of the things that I was always a sucker for, that I always got really excited about to go to the movies for, was the marketing. Like I was always the person who could never miss the trailers. I was always the person that would like walk up and down every single hallway to look at every single poster and every little detail of what might be in that movie that was coming out. And yeah, like now I have a huge movie poster collection because like I'm just, now to me, like that's all artwork. It's not marketing material. It's not, promotion. It's artwork to me. So I don't know. That's one of the things that I probably really missed the most, was being able to go around and admire, I don't know, just every single universe that I got to kind of like be a part of every single time I got to go to the movies.
I would have to agree with you on the trailers. I was just mentioning to Brandon the other day, I was like, I work in this industry and I'm trying to think of what's opening next that I'm really excited about, because I'm so used to being in the movies so frequently that I watch the trailers all the time, and it just builds this excitement for what's to come. And it's like, I constantly have something to look forward to. Like this event is going to be happening when this movie opens, and I don't have that right now. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait, what's the next thing that we get to go do? What's the next film that we get to experience? And I just don't have that like anchor point to really build that excitement right now.
It's a shame. Yeah, I miss it too.
Watching a trailer on YouTube is just not the same. Yeah. We used to do a program at where we used to work, Scott and I, and it was 2 hours of just trailers 4 times a year to just get people kind of fired up for what was coming out.
It's a lot of trailers.
It's a lot of trailers. Yeah. 2 hours.
You'd be surprised at how many people would come just to come and watch trailers on the big screen. It was
free.
It was a free event, but still people would come and buy popcorn and just sit in a movie theater for an hour and a half and just watch trailers for upcoming movies.
Great
it was really
idea. Cool. I do miss like the activation of it all, like because when you go to certain movies at certain theaters on certain dates, there's usually a little something else going on, especially at not the biggest chains, kind of the small and mid-sized guys, will create some type of event out of it on certain days. But I also I still talk to friends that we go to movies with in groups, and they're like, oh yeah, when we went to see that movie. Oh yeah, when we went to see that. I think that connective tissue between us all, or when we go to Danielle, James, and I, help run the Dallas International Film Festival. It's like, oh, the film festival on that year. So it's not just, oh, I watched Under the Silver Lake, while it was on the background of my TV or sitting on my couch. But like, when you go experience it together, man, there's just something that feels bigger about that. And there's something that, you always have that moment to talk about. And we're losing that right now. And so I really can't wait to get back to the theater and go buy out either an auditorium or a block of tickets and have everybody there. I mean, and even for those of us that are in the industry, whether it's the film festival or a CinemaCon, it's like, how many times do you go back and think about, man, that was cool to be there. So it's actually like being somewhere and with a group of people that, and I don't want to say like-minded, but people that ultimately share this one experience together, and now you have that connection to them. So yeah, I think that's what I miss most, and because I love dining in theaters, I can't think of any one particular dish that I'm just can't wait to get back to. I've had movie theater popcorn curbside. Like, I just want the experience back.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get that. For me, I miss I'm always on. I don't know if you guys feel like that too, but my phone's always on. My computer, everything's always dinging, notifications, this, that. And that's the one place where I can just shut everything off and really immerse myself in the experience. I don't know anywhere else where you can do that. And I really miss being taken away to different places every weekend.
Yeah, to that point, it's like, in the last 6 months, I don't know how many times I've sat down to watch a movie and actually watched it start to finish, not interrupted, not checking my phone, not checking social media, not checking email, not letting the dogs out, not getting
right.
Just let it all fade away. Like that's something you can't replicate.
I mean, have you ever gone and you're like, oh my gosh, that was 2.5 hours? Like, it went by in a snap because you're so immersed.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I've also gone and I've that was 2.5 hours.
Yes, me too.
There's different ways to experience movies. There's not just put it on a reel and let a player, DCP it, but if you're in a D-box seat versus a regular seat versus a recliner versus a dine-in versus being on 35 millimeter or 70 millimeter or 3D or an IMAX, it's another way of experiencing a movie. I mean, I watched Dunkirk at 3 different movie theaters and had 3 different experiences. One I had to walk out of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
wow.
The Dome in Fort Worth.
Planetarium.
At the IMAX Dome. I couldn't handle it.
No, I don't I think
I almost threw up.
I was going to say, no offense to any of us here, but I think we're too old to enjoy those things.
They had the seats to where they were planetarium, so the seats were slightly leaned back so you could see it, and the movie was across the entire dome.
Yeah.
But because of the way that Dunkirk is shot, all of the motion, because it's constant, the bombing and the planes and the noise and the sound effects and the motion of it. I got so sick. I had motion sickness from watching the movie in this planetarium. I'm like, I do not feel good. I don't know what's going on, but I can't keep doing this. As much as I want to sit here and watch Dunkirk again, I can't do this. I got to walk out.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, those increased levels of interaction that you can have with the movie, they're all unique ways to, enhance that movie-going experience. And I've only done D-Box once. I think I saw the remake of Magnificent Seven. Yeah. And again, I'm sure there are some movies that it's suited for and some movies that are not all that suited for it.
This is a good topic, I think, for another episode, because we could go on for, I think there's 15 minutes of different ways that movie theaters are enhancing this experience. So I think we should put that on our parking lot.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So do we do a little sign-off action here?
Sign off here.
I mean, this was a great conversation. I really love getting to talk to you guys. I think eventually what we're going to have to do, it's inevitable, we're all going to have to sit down and watch a movie together, because that's really how you can really, truly know a human being, is to sit next to them in a movie theater and share that experience with them. I think it's a very necessary process in getting to know somebody. So I think that's something that's the next step of this, blossoming friendship that we seem to be cultivating here.
And we'll do a live show after discussing the film.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody.
See you at the movies. Thanks for being here, friends.
Yes.